There's been a lot of talk in Congress about allowing illegal immigrants to gain a path to citizenship by joining the military. While on the surface, this can seem like a good way for people coming into the United States to prove their desire to be part of the American way. For some people, maybe this is a fair assessment. However, we really need to stop and ask what the purpose of our military is. If the military still holds onto its original values to honor and serve the values that this country was founded upon, then I believe most politicians have forgotten this, or they just choose not to acknowledge it in the first place. In the United States, we have a tradition of honoring our military personnel. We have holidays to commemorate them, we build memorials for their sacrifices, and we respect them after they serve. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jazz. I cover politics, economics, and most important, homesteading. When it comes to the American military, we're very different than how many places treat their military. In many countries, especially outside of what we would consider Western civilization, the military is kind of where you go when you don't have any other prospects. The first concern is that we could be bringing people into the country who just don't have respect for their military or our military. Most politicians are not looking to put people into the military because they think they have some great love for this country. They're putting it in there because they can't fill the ranks because our enrollment is way down. So instead of trying to fit this round hole with a square peg, maybe politicians should ask why no one wants to join the military. In recent years, true patriots who've made this military strong and protected our country, they've been treated horribly. They've had medical interventions forced upon them, they've been punished for their religious beliefs, and they've been forced to learn propaganda in an attempt to indoctrinate them into a mindset that has nothing to do with military competency. This purged our military of many of the people we rely on to protect this country.
Today I need to do some work on our compost pile. You can see I've gotten a little behind on this task. I've got a pretty good pile of cat poop from the last few weeks. The cattery produces about 15 pounds of waste per day, so over the course of a year it's quite a bit. Getting back to our previous conversation, what is even more concerning to me about opening our military to illegal immigrants is that we have not vetted them at all. While there might be a reasonable percentage of these immigrants that would make us proud, it would be naive to believe that countries that are hostile to the United States have not sent large numbers of operatives across our border. Allowing even a small percentage of these people into the military could be absolutely detrimental to the United States and our allies. The United States has some of the most expensive and thorough training for our troops of any country. If we were to bring in foreign combatants into our military, we'd be training our enemies with the best training money can buy. Not only would they receive excellent training, but they would know how our military works from the inside and out, which would allow them to have the upper hand in fighting against us. Even worse, if these troops could work their way up in the ranks, they could sabotage us from within. I believe this is extremely naive, or possibly even malicious on the part of any politician who would blindly let people who have already come into this country illegally be put in charge of protecting it. Moreover, we need to ask what would become of our military. We have already pushed out patriots favoring people who are willing to blindly follow orders. The compost pile is mostly a mix of sand, weeds, obviously cat poop, and a bunch of biochar that I made. The cat waste will break down and fertilize the soil. It'll also inoculate the biochar. The clay from the cat litter will add some body to the compost pile. It'll also help it retain water. If the clay content gets too high, I can always just add some more sand to balance it out. Before I use the soil, I'll probably bring in a couple truckloads of compost to add to it. I've had the pile uncovered for the last couple weeks because we've had some rain, but when I'm done, I'll cover it up so it doesn't dry out. Not wanting to be too distracted from my original point, the United States military has a tradition of training its ranks to be able to follow orders and give them from the top general to the lowest private. Our troops are trained to problem solve and take leadership roles if it's asked of them. By pushing out people who are capable of thinking for themselves, we're degrading our entire military structure to be something that looks more like the Chinese or Russian military that has a rigid, top-down control structure. These militaries are not designed to function outside the direct orders. That is why they are much less effective than better trained Western forces, even if they are in smaller numbers. If you look at a military force such as the Chinese, they are first and foremost in place to protect and enforce the desires of the ruling party. The Chinese military takes an oath to the Chinese Communist Party, not to the people of China. I'm very concerned that this is the direction we are going. I think our military could become completely unrecognizable to its original intentions with which it was created. Over the years, American foreign policy has created a lot of enemies. I do not justify much of what our leadership has pushed. However, the last thing we need to do is open our arms and let in these now disgruntled forces to join the ranks and somehow think that they're going to defend us. Unfortunately, this is one more thing we're going to have to be aware of. It is bad enough when we need to worry about outside forces, natural disasters, and corrupt politicians, but we are at risk of losing the honorable rank and file military personnel who still stand up for something.